I'm Jim Collison, and this is the Clifton Strengths Podcast, Season 3, recorded on November 10th, 2023. In this Clifton Strengths podcast series, we'll look at how to feel more energized and motivated at work, one theme at a time, and today's theme is Activator. If you're listening live, we'd love to have you join us in chat, or if you want to email us your questions after the fact, send those to us, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant and joined me for both season 1 and 2 of the Clifton Strengths podcast, where we looked at well-being at work. That's the book, and our Clifton Strengths role-based reports. That was season 2. Jaclynn, always great to see you. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you.
Great to see you, Jaclynn. We're talking this season about bringing energy to work with your themes. Today, we're talking about Activator. Let's think about that from an individual perspective first. What are some ways an individual with Activator can feel more energized, specifically by focusing on their basic needs?
Tracking your activities and accomplishments each day or even the week, depending what your outlook is, to see what's been initiated and what's been completed. So you might like it daily as an activator for, the purposes of just wanting to see what you've got started. At the end of the day, you just look and go, okay, what did I actually get done? Did I stay on course, or did I activate on something, completely different than I should have? So I think a tracker would be a good way to just create that clarity and keep you moving forward.
I think oftentimes Activator 5 for me, I think sometimes my best days are when I get a lot of things going, like you're talking about that review
Uh-huh.
process. A review process, not to feel guilty you didn't get things done, but to see
Yes.
the progress of things. And sometimes to say, I started this, but then I got into it and I realized it's not scalable, or I
Yes.
realized it's not going to work, or I didn't even like the idea. That
Yes.
happens so frequently to me where it sounded like a great idea at 9 a.m. By 10 a.m., it's the worst idea I've ever had. Right. Right. And
Yeah.
giving myself the ability to forgive, that's probably not the right word, but to get past a bad idea. Right. Because we have a lot of
Huh.
them and say, yeah, no, actually, I started it. It didn't work. I've already let it go. Would you add anything? Would you add any? Now that I said, would you
That's
add anything to that?
interesting too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I was gonna ask you if you see your ideation showing
Oh,
up in
for
your
sure.
activator a
Yeah,
lot
for sure.
with the
Yeah,
with the ideas,
yeah.
the
Ideation
tracker of just
7.
ideas that helps you go, what do I
Hmm.
want to throw away? What did I
Hmm.
start? And maybe I'll continue to
Yeah,
track my
definitely,
progress.
definitely an influence, right? We have to
Yeah.
remember that, right? These themes don't live in isolation, and so that activator is absolutely 5, ideation coming in at 7, and
Mhm.
positivity sandwiched in the middle. So I'm okay with that. Like, yeah, you know what? I was thinking today I was going to go paint the shed. It just didn't work out. It's okay.
Mhm.
It's not an achiever thing. It's okay. I'll get it another day, or I just won't
Yeah.
do it at all, right? And so
Yeah.
having that freedom to know you can start, think through it from a basic need standpoint, and then not necessarily having the guilt behind it to always have to finish those kinds of things allows me to
Mhm.
continue to bring that energy to work. Let's talk about this idea of development then. What are some
Let's
ways
do
that
that.
activator can feel more energized by focusing on their individual strengths and development? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, so when I think about that one, it's that try and fail approach that activators love, and so I think to a degree too, it's pausing for a moment to say, "What do I wanna what's a developmental goal for me?" And it could be as simple as, I want to engage in a new project, or maybe there's a new responsibility that I wanna try out because it sounds fun, sounds engaging, gives me puts a little fire behind me. And then it's okay, and I'm gonna be comfortable with trying and failing until I get it right. But in that try and fail process, it could be really helpful to jot down what worked. I think that could support this studying of success, so that you you continue to drive towards excellence within that particular developmental opportunity.
Mhm.
And I say that because as an activator, it's easy to just get caught up in the doing, or I should say the starting. But what I mean is, even when you're starting it, You like to iterate. You like to kind of just manipulate, try and fail, and we might forget what worked. So it can be helpful to just jot down, oh, this worked. And then in your one-on-one conversations with your manager, you've got that side note to say, well, I recognized when I was in X project or when I was conducting X responsibility, this is where I found the most success.
Mm,
So that you can
mm,
be consistent with it in the future as you start to
mm.
integrate it more into your overall career plan.
Yeah, for me,
That
the
makes sense.
yeah,
So we're kind of talking
very,
through it.
very much so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think as I was listening to what you're saying with Activator, I think sometimes that development comes on the backside of,
Mhm.
and it's maybe
Mhm.
even taking advantage. You didn't know this was gonna. You started something and had no idea where this was gonna go, and
Mhm.
you learned some things through the process that on the
Yes.
backside you didn't intentionally do it, thinking like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna learn these things." No, you started it and then went, "Oh, what?" Or "Oh," right? Those two reactions, can
Yes.
both happen. And then that learning and development comes in on the backside. And I think for activators, being okay saying, I don't know what I'm going to learn, but I'm going to learn something,
Mhm.
right? I'm something, it's going to change something for me. Each one of these seasons that we've done of what was Theme Thursday, now the CliftonStrengths podcast,
Yeah.
has been a learning opportunity for me. And now third season for you. You and I both sat down and we said, "Hey, what have we learned? And how do we put this into the next season?" What you're hearing now in this season is a direct result for me, anyways, the influence that I have of what we've learned in the
Yeah.
past. What are some ways that an activator can feel more energized by building partnerships? And I maybe alluded to this in what I just said, but building partnerships and finding purpose within their role. How can they do that with activator?
This is fun. So I think the way an activator can help encourage partnerships or just naturally blossoms with them, they can take ideas and start driving them towards action. So there might be somebody on the team that has a really great idea, but maybe they're slow to start. That activator is going to say, "Yeah, let's go. Let's get it moving." So they can really be a catalyst for bringing people together with the ideas they have and putting it in action. They might not come to completion with it. That's not where the
Yeah.
energy is going to be,
Yeah.
but they're going to get it started. So they're not just going to be sitting ducks around a table, talking about something. They're going to say, "Okay, let's go." And people can be really inspired by that because they go, "Wow, um, I just love the kind of energy and enthusiasm you have with getting something started,
Mm,
especially if you might have a partner that's more deliberative in their approach and it's going to
mhm,
maybe take a while for them to get started. They might appreciate to some degree having somebody that says, well, it's okay. What's the worst that can happen? Let's just at least try it,
mhm. Yeah, and be that
learn from it
inspiration, right?
to what you
Right.
said
Be
on the
that.
back end.
Yep. Yeah, to be that inspiration to
Hmm.
say, "Hey," because sometimes people just need a partner to go
Hmm.
along with them. They won't do it. I'll do stuff by myself all the time. Like, that's just the way
Yeah.
I'm built. But others who don't have that, others sometimes need that person. Well, that's
Hmm.
thinking from a team dynamic as we think about managers who have activator, right? How can a manager with activator support others with their basic need? Talk a little bit about that because this is taking it from me to we.
Yeah. I think a big thing that activators can do is they can break the barriers and frustrations that are getting in the way of team success. They can break that barrier down. So they're not being derailed from whatever assignment or responsibility or project they have. Meaning, if the team comes to them and says, "Hey, we don't have access to, um, a file in the intranet," that manager, because they have Activator, it's like, "Okay, well, let's get it done." And they're going to go and they're going to flag IT right then and there, and it can be solved much quicker than if they didn't have that theme. And maybe they say, "Well, I'll get to it, or I'll put it on my list." It's like, no, let's just do it. Why can't we do it right now?
Yeah, I love that phrase. Why can't we just do that right now? We
Yeah.
think we just earlier had been talking about achiever, but I think as a manager with activator, this is one of those things that separates it out is
Hmm.
yeah, it sounds like achiever, but in that phrase that you used, why can't we do that right now? Is I think one
Hmm.
of those powerful manager phrases that,
Hmm.
and it's not appropriate in every situation, but in some it is. Like, there is this need. Why can't we do it right now? And
Mhm.
I love that, Jacqueline. That's a
That
great.
responsiveness is
Mhm,
ugh,
mhm.
is just so great especially when it comes to barriers and frustrations. And
Yeah.
that translates to burnout if there's barriers and frustrations for too long. Activator can just cut through that. So I, I think that's such a golden gem that this theme has.
Yeah. Yeah. And for some, a refreshing, like, oh, like I've been struggling with this for a while. We could solve it today
Mhm.
type
Yeah.
situation. So I love that. How can a manager with Activator then help others feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual?
Mhm. When they see a team member contribute something of value, anything they've done. It could have been a contribution to the team in terms of, oh, I'll take that responsibility off the plate, or everyone's overworked, no one has space in their calendar, and then someone, takes it upon themselves to get X, Y, or Z done. This person, they with that activator, they can recognize that individual right away for the contribution, the workload, whatever value they created. And that ability to immediately recognize somebody motivates them. It gives them that sense of accomplishment. It increases their engagement. So I think it's just using it to say, oh, when I see someone in action, do something of value. Let me, going back to the right away phrase,
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
recognize them right away.
Yeah. Well, there's power in that, right? Of not waiting, of saying in the
Yeah.
moment, from a manager's perspective,
Hmm.
you have this ability and this power to see it, say it. This is when I was
Yeah.
writing the
See something,
tube
say
in
something.
London. They would say, "See it, say it, sorted." Right? There was this idea
Yes.
of, and I think that that activator has that responsibility as a manager to, in those moments, oftentimes call it out for what it is. And maybe
Hmm.
this will build into it. What else can a manager do to build trust, inspire, and deepen team collaboration as well as community?
Yeah. They could foster a culture of proactive initiative within the team, meaning they can inspire employees to take the lead in identifying and solving problems relating to, and if we want to go to the inspiration piece, to the company mission. So if the team recognizes something they could do better that really impacts the customer more, what are the ideas that you've got? And let's just try it out. Let's put it in action. Or if there's a barrier to their success that's impeding on their ability to, create impact for the customer. Well, let's identify a problem and let's
Mhm,
start putting an action in place. We might not
mhm,
be able to solve for it today, but we can get one step closer. So I think that the key words to touch on there is that proactive initiative, and then you
mhm.
can guide them so they can they can feel more empowered to do things that are going to create long lasting impact.
How do you think that fits into the trust model then, as because we asked this
Yeah.
question, build trust. So that's happening.
Mhm.
Back that
Mhm.
into trust for a second. Can
Yes.
you talk a
Good
little bit about
question.
that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, one of the key ways that a manager can build trust is by empowerment. So it's delegating work to team members or enabling them to come up with ideas or enabling them to solve for problems. And so when you're encouraging that, you're encouraging your team members to take this proactive initiative, whether it's related to the impact they can create, problems they can solve, actions they want to take. You're empowering them. You're
Mhm,
saying, "Hey, I trust you. I know you've got this, and I'm here for you along the way. I'll be that guide or that facilitator for you." So yeah, great question and how that
mm.
relates to it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we think about building trust in the context of relationships, but
Hmm.
we can also build trust from an organizational standpoint of,
Hmm.
I trust, I feel safe on
Hmm.
this team, and I trust this team, right? And so
Hmm.
oftentimes the manager can have a big, we know it has a big part, right? That's 70%. Um, can that trust coming from the manager can kind of permeate through the team perspective, and the team
Hmm.
can begin to trust each other. Thoughts on
Hmm.
that, Jacqueline?
Yes, and when the team trusts each other, what do we see is more ideation,
Mhm,
because they're starting to use each other to bounce ideas off of one another, to identify resolutions. They do that for that thought partnership, and how inspiring when you have new ideas that are sparked all the time, and a manager that enables you to, go forth and try it out. because activators, going to the heart of that theme, are comfortable with failure. It's,
Mm-hmm.
going back to the iterative approach. Let's try and fail until we get it right. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, I know we're getting into development in a moment, but it helps develop people to know that, oh, it's okay if I fail. I can just get up and try again,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the team, it's the same. We can come up
Well,
with ideas and we can try to put it into action. And if we fail, it's okay.
yeah.
Manager's got our back. He trusts
Exactly.
us. They
Yeah.
trust us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we trust each other in that,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's with that final question. Let me ask it. What can a manager do with Activator to support growth then in each of the team members? We've alluded to it, so maybe put a bow on that as we think about that team and helping the growth of each team member.
Yeah, and I can even kind of shift gears to add a new layer into that. But they can help team members break down their learning objectives into smaller actionable tasks. And that's going to align with that activator theme of, wanting to take steps quickly. If we go back to what we had just talked about, maybe the team has some ideas that can, impact the purpose that they have for the customer more. They can help them say, okay, you've got this idea, what's the first step that we can take? But for developmental purposes, I always think of what's the idea or the plan that individual has for themselves, and how can the manager help them just
Mm,
start to break it into fast
mm,
acting quick steps, so they can celebrate those quick wins
yeah.
along the way.
I'm going to ask you here in a second to wrap the
Hmm.
theme, but as you were saying that, it got me thinking the positive side of, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Hmm.
Are we there yet? Right.
Yes.
Oftentimes we use that as a negative analogy for our children on a trip. But for a manager who is
That's true.
constantly checking in with their individual, those they're managing, using that activator talent to say, are you there yet? Are you there yet? Are you there
Hmm.
yet? Right. That positive checking up to see, are you there yet? What's in the way? Are you there
Yeah.
yet? What's in the way? Right. Where we take that and make it positive. That's the analogy that got me thinking. Jaclynn, take a second and wrap this theme up for us.
Yeah. So I'd say if you have activator, one of the big kind of taglines that you could think about is, am I promoting a culture um, of proactive initiation, of immediate execution in terms of recognizing people, supporting them with their developmental plans, and then individually you could also internalize that for yourself and say, am I promoting a culture myself of immediate action? Where am I slow to move, and why? Because it might not be giving you energy, whatever that task is that you wanted to start. So going back to your point earlier, you can kind of release it, or at least if it's work related, talk to your manager and say, I love getting things started, but I'm really dragging on this, and I'm recognizing it's because I don't like it, or I thought it was a good idea and it isn't. Can we let this go?
Mm,
So,
mm.
yeah.
Love that. Great way to wrap it up. And with that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available. More of these and more of this available
Hmm.
my.gallup.com if you want to log in. That's Gallup Access. Log in and look for those resources. For coaching, master coaching, or to become a Gallup certified strengths coach, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. We'll send you more information around that. Love to have you join us for our 2024 Gallup at Work Summit. If it's past June of 2024, it's okay. We probably still have another one scheduled and ready to go. You can check out all the details. Gallup at Work, all one word, gallupatwork.com. Stay up to date with all of our future webcasts by joining our Facebook groups, and you can join us on any social platform by searching Clifton Strengths. I'm contractually obligated to say like and subscribe because that's what the kids are doing on YouTube these days. So no matter where you're at, like and subscribe. We'll appreciate that. And it just feels good when you do. So activate on that, like and subscribe right now. Thanks for listening today. And thanks for coming out. For those listening live, stay around for a little bit of a post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.